When you think about creative work, are you tempted to feel bitter and cynical? If so, I think that it might reveal some really deep things going on inside of you. I was inspired to make today's video based on something I read in a book called Playful Parenting. This is a really amazing book. I don't necessarily agree with everything in this book, but there are a lot of things in here that are really helpful about how play can really draw out some really powerful emotions in our kids. And honestly, a lot of this book just reminds me of the show Bluey and why Bluey is so powerful, both for kids and adults. I think you should check out this book. But I read something in this book I'm going to read to you. This is going to be story time with Jonathan, or reading time with Jonathan. I'm going to read you something from this book that I thought was really insightful and really helpful, something that's true about kids, but something that is equally as true, I think, for us today as adults, in some things that go on with how we think about creative work and struggles that we have internally with our creative work. Anyway, the book, the part that I want to read to you, is a little long, so I hope you'll stay with me. Here we go. Children do this all the time, putting down their own work or their own abilities, and they often criticize each other. Of course they do. They learn it from us. Sometimes, if we're lucky, they just need a little encouragement, a smile, or a nod. This lets them ignore the critical voice and go on with their creative flow or their learning process. But if the critical voice inside stops them from even trying, if it convinces them to give up on drawing or soccer or math or horseback riding or writing poetry, then we have to do more. We have to insist that they keep at it, that the critical voice is not the truth or the last word. Faced with a firm contradiction, I know you can do it, you're a great artist, the critical voice will often make a last gasp for control. When we say this to children, they often cry or yell at us or insist they are stupid, they are bad at drawing, they hate math, they will never be good at sports. All we have to do is listen and maintain our confidence in them while they release these feelings. Listening patiently to these outbursts is a crucial part of playful parenting. The process of growing up and learning things and mastering new skills brings a lot of frustration, and this frustration is released by giggles, when you're lucky, or by tears when it's too strong a feeling to come out in laughter. Too bad children don't come up to us and say, "I'd really like to pursue my interest in sculpture, but there's a voice in my head that tells me I'm no good at it. Will you help me?" Instead, they say, "I'm just not interested in it anymore." We therefore need to be detectives and sniff out the difference between a real change in interests and giving up because of feelings of powerlessness. We have to find ways for children to tell their own stories, paint their own pictures, construct their own worlds, act out their own scenarios, and keep their own dreams alive. What I think is really powerful about kids, that's also true about us as adults, and something that he said in here, is just needing to sniff out the difference between whether or not our interests have truly changed or whether or not we're just feeling critical of ourselves and we're feeling powerless. We're feeling like we would really like to be able to do something, but we're not feeling like we're actually any good at it. We're feeling really stuck. And a lot of times, whenever we feel really critical of ourselves, when we feel like we are just not going to be good at something, we can become really bitter and we can become really cynical. And the thing is that bitterness and that cynical spirit, what it actually shows us is that we really care about this thing and that we would really like to be able to do it and we would really like to be able to be good at it, but we just feel powerless. We feel like we're not, and we feel like we can't ever be good at this thing. This has been true in my life in regards to singing. I really love to sing. Ever since I was a kid, I've been singing. That's kind of the first thing that people knew about me, was that I would get on stage even at 3, 5, 8 years old, and I would sing for people and I would perform. And then as I became middle school, high school, I really loved singing. My voice started changing and I wanted to be really good at singing. And in particular, I would listen to some guys that I really love who could sing really high. And so I would spend hours and hours and hours in my garage, in the basement, trying to sing. I would play their CDs over and over again and try to sing like they could sing. I didn't have any at the time instruction. I didn't have a voice teacher. I just would sing and belt and lose my voice. And I just remember feeling so frustrated because I wanted to be able to sing. I wanted to be good at this, but I just didn't feel like I was very good at it. I felt very powerless. I then went to school, and I went to school to be a voice major. And I remember getting really frustrated. I took some voice lessons, which were really helpful, but I still just felt powerless. I wanted to be able to sing the way I wanted to sing. And I did grow, and I am able to sing much better than I did before, but I've had to learn how to lean into what my voice is capable of and into my own unique sound and my own unique style, and stop trying so much to sound like people that I admire, but to rather begin to admire what my voice can do and what my tone is and what my sound is. You can ask my wife. There are many times throughout my life where I've just become really cynical and bitter and just acted like, oh, I don't want to sing. I don't want to be a singer. I'm not a singer. And I seem really self-confident, and I seem really like sure of myself, or I seem really like over singing. And the truth is that that's kind of all of a front, because I really care about singing, and I always have, and I would love to be a good singer, but I oftentimes feel very self-critical about my singing voice, and I often feel very powerless to achieve with my singing voice what I would like to achieve. And so I guess this is just a video about doing some self-reflecting, about thinking about your creative work, whatever it is that you want to do, and to ask yourself if you've given up on it, or if you're tempted to give up on it because your interests have truly changed, or if you're tempted to give up on it because you just feel discouraged, you feel really self-critical, and you feel powerless. And it's important for us to know the difference for our own mental health and our own mental sanity, and to remember, just like I posted in a video a few days ago, that we can always grow, we can always improve. We might not be able to end up doing exactly what we want to do because there are different levels of talent, there's different levels of ability, and we might need to adjust how we do our creative work and help it uniquely fit to what we are able to offer to the world. But it's not good or healthy to live with a sense of defeat and cynicism and self-criticism that then just masks itself as, hey, I'm so over this thing. I'm so over this creative work. In truth, you might not be. In truth, the people that you know in your life who seem over their creative work, but you know are super talented, and you know that deep down they would really love to do this creative thing, they might just be putting up a mask, and they might deep down be really sad and really just full of bitterness and cynicism because they're disappointed in themselves, and they're disappointed in life, and they're disappointed and feel powerless in their ability to grow in the thing that they want to grow in. It's just helpful for us to know things like that, because it helps us to make better decisions about what we should do with the creative longings of our heart and how we should move forward. Do with that what you will. I don't know that there's a real point to this video other than to encourage you to do some self-reflecting, and to encourage you to see that any kind of bitterness or cynicism you might feel about your creative work might just be there not because you actually are cynical, but because you actually really care and you really want to be good, and you're feeling sad and you're feeling powerless. And so the best thing that you maybe could do is to figure out how to empower yourself to move forward, how to take the next step forward to growing and to being better, or how to maybe deal mentally with the self-criticism that goes on in your head about your creative work. I guess go think about it, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.